Guys, I don't know what kind of tree this is, but my father-in-law had it at his house. And it was kind of like in this little atrium, and he just never watered it and never hardly did anything with it. And he was just going to get rid of it because they remodeled their house. And I saw it laying outside, and he had just put it outside and said, "This is the weirdest plant ever." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I don't know if it's a tree or a plant or a vine or what it is, but I think it's a little tree." And so I took it over to the house here, and I told Alex, I said, "Let's just plant it and see what happens, and maybe give it some love." And look how pretty it is, guys. you know, look at it. And I don't know what kind of tree this is, or even if it's going to be something that could last the winter should the Lord tarry. I don't know. But I gave it a new home, and it has life now. And anyway, I was watching Watchwoman 65 today, and she was talking about, all of our brothers and sisters that, that understand that the Lord is, he was big enough to make us, right, and to save us, and also that he keeps us, and that we're saved for good works, but not by them. And it was all his finished work on the cross, and it's so true. And she was talking about, Corinthians chapter 15, and about how it's so beautiful because, it starts out where Paul is talking about, the gospel wherein which I preach to you, basically the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, and that, these things that he's trying to basically go over in their mind to settle them, that this is the true gospel, the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, wherein you hear and believe, and that's that. And then right after, it talks about the rapture. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but in a moment be changed, in the twinkling of an eye. And I think about Brother Todd. It is finished a couple of Christmases ago. He was singing from the Hallelujah chorus, and he was like, "Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep." And I wish I could do that better, but anyway, y'all get the point. Somebody said, "I like your voice," like yesterday, and I'm just like, "You don't even know what I've been through with this voice." Oh my goodness, y'all. And I'll tell you really quick for those of y'all who don't know, because it's a miracle. It's a blooming miracle, if you will. I had a really bad problem with my gallbladder for years and years, and it just like to have killed me. And I was so tiny. I mean, I was like, if you can picture the scene, 5'7" and an athletic girl of about 140 and still in a size 4. So that was really skinny to me, okay, guys. I mean, a 6 on a chubby day for me. And I mean, and everybody go, "Oh, you've had 3 kids and you're so slim," and stuff like that. And I'd say, "Yeah." And they go, "You must stay on a really strict diet." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's because my gallbladder won't let me overeat by even 1 bite, guys." And I mean, and it was the truth. I mean, it just like to have killed me, y'all. But the thing about it is that every time they would run the scans and the tests and all these things, they never could see any stones. And it was because I had what the doctors call now that sludge, which is really like millions of stones. It's like, I don't know, black sand rolling around in there like a turbine. It was like very painful. My mom was full of gallstones, had 1 attack, and they took hers out because they could see the stones. And she never had any pain before that. And it's so funny because a month before she had it out, I'm like, "Mom, if you had something like that and you were full of stones, they'd take it out right that second." I said, "They just can't see mine, but I know they're there." And sure enough, only about a month after she had hers out, I had such a bad attack that I think they thought my heart was going to stop. So they went ahead and took mine out too. Different doctor, different hospital, but nevertheless, I'd suffered with it for 13 years at that point. Well, when I woke up, yeah, I didn't have a gallbladder, but it didn't really have a voice either. and some kind of medical accident had happened, and the apparatus, like the hose that they give you the anesthesia throughout the surgery, had slipped, and it had ripped off the top of my voice box. And I found it harder and harder every day. I mean, it was like really scratchy, and just I barely could speak, almost like when you've had a really bad sore throat and you can't talk, except instead of improving and getting better, it was getting worse, guys. And so I had to go to my ENT, and, he looked down in my throat with all those, hoses that they put in down through your nose. It's horrible. And looked at my voice box, and he said, yeah, there's very, very little vibration coming out of there because it looks like you've had a recent surgery. And I said, why? And he was like, well, I can tell because it looks like they scraped off the top of your voice box, and there are the scar tissue that's growing back over that. It's almost like if you were to take your hand and hold the guitar strings down on a guitar, and then you try to strum across that, you're not going to get any sound. It's going to be a real flat sound. And that's what you're going through right now. And it probably will just get progressively worse, And so he goes, but we can clean that up. I believe we can have surgery and, try to repair the voice box. And then we will, we'll send you over to the people at Cardinal Hill Hospital. And they're the best rehabilitation people, whether you've had a stroke or a car accident or for whatever reason that you can't speak. They basically teach you how to speak again. And so I went through a really rigorous time, guys, for about a year, and finally I'm left with the voice that I have. But even according to the ENT who did the surgery, he's looked down in my voice box many times, and he says still that there's really not any vibration coming out of that normal voice box. And I'm like, well, then what are you hearing when you hear my voice? Like for whatever this voice is now that I have, which obviously is a version of what I had before. And he said, well, the only thing I can figure, he goes, is that everybody has a set of false lobes above their regular voice box, but they really just don't use it. Maybe a few opera singers that have been highly trained can make sound come out of that. It's called like overtone singing or whatever. It's almost like a diplophonia type thing, except you really don't have the diplophonia thing going on. And I did at one point, like when she was in voice therapy with me, the girl that was helping me, the voice therapist, it was like sometimes voice or a little bit of a sound would come out of the regular voice box and the false lobes, but it was only temporary. And then once that I got whatever this voice is left, that it was like it's a miracle, guys. I mean, like, Jesus gave me a voice back, and I love talking and singing and all those kind of things. And they said, well, realize that since you're really making the sound out of that false lobes, that what a few Tibetan monks know how to use, and that do that throat singing, I guess, and then some of the opera singers or whatever. He goes, it looks like you've imprinted that voice on, or as close as you could mimic your own voice to that. And I mean, I know it sounds weird, guys, and I know that it's one for the case books and all of that, but it's just the truth, and it's what happened. So to me, it's a miracle of God. And when it says in Corinthians chapter 15, behold, I show you a mystery, and we shall not all sleep, but in a moment be changed in the twinkling of an eye. There will be a lot more dramatic and miraculous things happen, not just something that we're dealing with the flesh, that the Lord can use for his glory. And, even though they told me that I'd never be able to sing, and I know it's only like a 1 octave range, I can sing a little bit. At least I can sing, happy birthday to you, stuff like that. But anyway, I love you guys, and I hope that this helps someone today, and somehow blesses someone today. And I thought I'd show you my little tree that I saved in the spring, and it's been living here now for, I think, since about May. And I think it's beautiful. And so for however long it lasts, or we last, only the Lord knows. And keep looking up, guys. And I'm sure we'll talk really soon.